What made you break up with the person you thought you'd marry? Doesn't really fit here because I did marry him in the end, but in retrospect I should have broken it off before it got that far. He wasn't who I thought he was and I wasn't who he wanted me to be. He was depressed, obese and had huge self-worth issues and some trouble with alcohol abuse. The relationship ended up being more of a caretaker-patient thing, with him making me feel guilty when I left home for work, and spending spare time with someone else was unthinkable. Short term I figured he'd get better, but he refused therapy. He tried starting 4 studies but lost interest sooner with each of them. With this getting progressively worse for 9 years, in the end he had no diploma, no income, was heavier than ever, drinking daily and relying on me for everything. Leaving was difficult, but it was the best thing I could have done for him. He finally started taking responsibility, started therapy, and now he's financially independent, taking care of his body and doing all kinds of active things with friends. In the meantime I'm happily taken and feel a lot more free to pursue my goals and dreams with a partner who's also aiming for the stars. Both of us were alcoholics. I met him at age 22, he was 26. Love at first sight. It was immediately understood without even speaking of it that we were just going to be together now, and that was that for 2.5 years. I have still never met someone I have loved entirely as much as I loved him. And when I broke things off with him, I honestly think a piece of my soul died. Because I have truly never been the same since. My mom and dad were both alcoholics and it fucked up my childhood. I had a drinking problem myself that I didn't understand yet. My drinking increased when we began dating because it seemed so normal to indulge more with him. The more I drank, the more neurotic and needy I became. The more he drank, the more he just faded away from the world. He always drank to the point of blacking out and I hated it. I would see his facial expression go kind of blank while we were out, and I'd know he was blacked out, like, nothing there, dead behind the eyes. And I'd wonder where the guy I loved was. I'd tell him we needed to go home and he'd brush it off and refuse. He had to close the bar down no matter what. He'd just always get so fucking hammered. Seeing the man I loved really drunk would always trigger this really lonely and dark sadness inside me. I felt invisible, like I did to my parents my whole childhood. And he drank like, every day. He never slept at night so much as he actually just kind of passed out. I always felt like I was sleeping next to a ghost when he was passed out from drinking. I felt like I was dating him, the perfect person, and then also his twin, who had nothing to give and no life inside of him. It was just a shell of him. It broke my heart constantly. After some time of cyclical arguments, usually while both of us were drunk, I started to realize he didn't feel like he had an issue, and I wasn't sure he would ever face it. I wanted to face my issues. I wanted a better life and better mental health. He was not in favor of making changes. He had socialized with the same group of guys since he was 5, all of whom drank to blackouts regularly, and his dad was a big drinker. They were from a privileged, upper-middle-class kind of circle where binge drinking was just normal because they went to more expensive bars and only drank craft beers and whatnot. How to explain it? But there was a disconnect there between us. There was no part of his life that didn't revolve around alcohol, and I knew if I didn't get away from that lifestyle, I was going to end up miserable or maybe even dead. I still fight for my sobriety every day. He just got married last month. I saw photos from the wedding, where he had a drink in his hand in every photo and the same blank, drunk expression I could never cope with. I wish him the best, and I still miss him every day. I fucking hate alcohol for all of the shit in life that it absolutely destroys. She wanted to go to Florida for the Disney College program. She is a huge Disney nerd. She was too scared she would lose me. I convinced her to do it because if she didn't, she would regret it forever, and that no matter what happened I would still be here for her. 6 months and an engagement ring later, she told me that while in Florida she realized she didn't love me like she thought she had. The ring is in a box in the back of a drawer in my dresser. Her worst fear came true. So did mine. She was in love with my best friend. And they were both in denial about it. They were engaged a month after we broke up, answering questions. They both told me nothing physical happened and I believed them, but they hung out a lot, which was pretty normal because we were all friends in high school, and I'm pretty sure they were already emotionally involved because she started to drift away, emotionally. They were both nice about it and asked if I'd be okay. I said yes because they seemed like they would be happy together and I cared about them both, but I don't hang out with them all that much because as nice as I try to be about it I still feel betrayed. I still talk to my best friend every once in a while, but it doesn't ever really get any deeper than the "what are you up to these days" texts, and for everyone commenting "been there and me too, I'm truly sorry. I sincerely believe that there's someone for everyone. Whoever you lost wasn't that person. As they say in Meet the Robinsons, keep moving forward. He was obsessed in making me look/speak better. He would control my food intake and make me exercise every day. Whenever I was out with him I have to wear heels, dress well, and he would point out what other girls were wearing and that I should try on. Putting makeup is a must even when I'm on a plane, that I wasn't allowed to speak other language aside from English and not allowed to watch dramas. That is trash to him. My last straw was him asking me to consider to get a boobs job when I lost so much weight from all the exercise/controlled diet. I realized I cannot live this way anymore and he will never be satisfied ever, even though I still love him, but I was mentally drained and constantly felt that I was ugly and unworthy. My mom was dying. It was my last Thanksgiving with her. Without discussing it with me first, he had his mom buy him plane tickets to spend Thanksgiving with his parents, and asked if I wanted to go with him. No. I am not missing the last Thanksgiving I can ever spend with my mom. We will have our whole lives to spend Thanksgiving with your family after this. You're leaving me to face this one alone, or to abandon my mother on her last Thanksgiving. It was suddenly very clear, being happy to cancel wedding plans to do it later, and many other things, that he didn't want to be in a relationship with me, but wouldn't break up with me, because my mom was dying, and he was too nice a guy to dump his fiancée whose mom was dying. To his credit, we remained close friends, and he continued to be there as my best friend and emotional support through her death. And some months following. Although it was 8 years ago, we still chat/text a few times a year, and catch up on how our families are doing. December 20th, 2018. I just got a call telling me he died today. It was tragic. He was a kind person, and only 36. R.I.P., my friend.